Parkland shooter Nicholas Cruz was an extremely dangerous young man just waiting to explode in an act of a massive violence. And apparently almost everybody who came into regular contact with him, including many in positions of authority, were well aware of that. We know that. The details have surfaced, and yet somehow officials ignored countless warning signs, thereby allowing that massacre to occur. Fox correspondent Matt Finn has been investigating the details of the Parkland shooting since it happened. Matt?
Tucker, medical records appear to indicate that Stoneman Douglas staff and that disgraced school resource officer wanted Nicholas Cruz committed against his will because Cruz allegedly wrote the word kill in a notebook and expressed his desire to use a gun. The documents indicated in September of 2016, Nicholas Cruz was evaluated at least once by a medical professional after school staff contacted a behavioral health center, warning that they were very concerned with Cruz's behavior. The school resource officer, Scott Peterson, reportedly warned that Cruz should be involuntarily committed under Florida's Baker Act, which makes it legal for authorities to briefly commit someone who's deemed a danger to themselves or others. However, despite the school's warnings, Cruz was never committed, apparently because he might not have admitted his intent to use a gun or hurt people. A portion of the documents obtained by Fox News read, quote, SRO, school resource officer, and 2 school counselors present report that client Cruz allegedly told a peer that he drank gasoline last week and was throwing up, had cut himself, and wearing long sleeves, and also that he had allegedly told a peer that he had a gun at home and was thinking of using it. The documents read that Cruz reportedly told clinicians, quote, the client states that he had strep throat last week and was throwing up. The client denies owning a gun. Client states that he owns a pellet gun and expressed to clinician that he's incapable of causing serious harm. The documents then seem to indicate that the clinician and a school resource officer decided not to initiate that Baker Act. Reading part, clinician explained that she cannot Baker Act if the client is denying an intent and a plan. But then it also reads the clinician spoke to guidance counselor again, who reported the school resource officer does not want to initiate a Baker Act because he does not believe he meets the criteria. Today, the Broward County Public Schools tells Fox News it has launched an independent review into how it handled Nicholas Cruz's social and emotional services. And tonight we are learning that Nicholas Cruz's brother, Zachary Cruz, was just arrested for trespassing on the property of Stoneman Douglas High School. Tucker.
Matt, thanks for your reporting tonight and for the past couple of weeks. It's been great.
Thank you,
well,
Tucker.
this weekend, thousands of people will descend on Washington, D.C. for a gun control rally, and gross failures by law enforcement somehow are unlikely to be on that agenda. Hopefully the protest goes better than the one in Chicago, where dozens of students walking out of school used their free time as an excuse to vandalize and loot a local Walmart. You're seeing pictures on the screen. Dan Bongino was an NRA television contributor and a former Secret Service agent. Dan, thanks for coming on. So, look, I think I know some of the people going to the march over the weekend, and I think a lot of them are just upset about the school shootings. They're not all for specific policy recommendations, and some of them are open-minded. And that's why I think it's so important to be honest about what the lessons of this shooting are. And at least one of them is the authorities failed. Why is that being lost?
Well, it's being lost, Tucker, because there really isn't a gun debate. There isn't a debate about firearms. There is one side of the Democrat Party, the radical far left, that believes in confiscation and will stop at nothing less. Then there is a more moderate side of the Democrat Party, and to be fair, some Republicans here as well, who, for some reason, Tucker, believe, despite any evidence, that additional obstacles for legal gun owners is somehow going to stop the criminal element from society and wipe the stain of evil from their hearts. It's frustrating because, Tucker, we did nothing wrong. Legal gun owners are saying to themselves all across America, I guarantee, I see it on social media, I deal with it on my own show, they're saying to themselves, well, why me? Why do I now have to wait 3 days to buy a firearm in Florida? I didn't do anything wrong.
Don't you think what's going on is very recognizable to anybody who's lived in the world? This is blame shifting. This is people who made a series of massive and inexcusable mistakes, blaming everyone else for their mistakes. Why are the authorities in Parkland, Broward County, the feds, they're all getting away with this? I don't understand how they're getting away with this.
Tucker, the why always matters here, and this is what the far left always does. The failures here before, during, and after this tragedy were clearly on the government side.
Yes.
But there is a portion of the far left that understands full well, the central planners, the anointed ones, as Thomas Sowell would call them, who can't get across this message to America. They can't have it out there that the planners are no smarter than any of you, that the laws they designed are being largely ignored, that criminals, that there's an evil component of society, and that they can't plan this away. There's no reorganization of people that really smart bureaucrats are going to do that is going to solve this. It's just the conflict of visions, as he says, and they're never going to intersect at any point. But liberals can't acknowledge that. That's why the smokescreen is there. Let's blame the gun, but let's ignore the problems with government.
Yeah, or ignore the 4 armed deputies that stood outside while 17 people got murdered. It's not their fault. It's really the NRA's fault. Yeah, okay. Dan, thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Yes,
I appreciate it.